Maybe you can't play Manchester City style. Maybe you can't press every single moment that you want to press. Maybe you have to be more pragmatic away from home in Torino, like he says himself. I don't know. I think for me, he approaches the games very naive for one of the best managers in the world.
How about Juventus then, Grella? We were just there in Turin.
Yep.
You wanted to pull the fire alarm for Juventus, and today they've beat Manchester City at home.
It was crazy. It was a historic, dreamy result, not because Vlahovic, who the guy they needed to get going, gets between the center backs and scores a goal with his head. This is where you make your money as a center forward. We haven't seen this enough. He gets that goal, then Weah comes on with McKennie, and they make the difference. The two Americans in a counterattack that was so lovely the way they put it together, the sequence, the technique, the execution, the wands, the celebration at the end. It was such a dreamy, historic performance against a Man City side that is like a no-mane lion at the moment.
A what?
A no-mane lion. Do you know what a no-mane lion is?
Explain that one.
A no-mane lion is a lion that gets older and loses its strength and it loses its pride. And that is exactly what Man City is. 1 win in 10 is a no-mane lion.
Wow.
I mean, on any other Champions League campaign, you would look at this and say, wow, a 2-0 win against Manchester City would be the result of the season. Does it mean as much, given the form that Manchester City are in, Mike?
I think any sort of result, especially when you beat City, it doesn't matter. I think when you go back and look at this match, whatever happens for Juventus at the end of the season, no one goes and says, but Mateo Kovacic was on the bench. Rodri wasn't playing. It looks at the scoreline, and the scoreline says 2-0. And as that match went on, there was only ever going to be one winner. This was Juve's side that they survived the difficult moments in the first half, and they held one of the best prolific goal scorers in European football to absolutely nothing, to 2 shots. That's incredible, and they had the finishing touch. Thiago Motta, he got it incredibly spot on tonight.
What will Pep Guardiola be thinking? Because Di Gregorio did make some big saves, didn't he? But, I mean, this is uncharted territory for Manchester City right now.
And that's what makes it difficult, because Pep Guardiola has never been in an experience like this. So how do you solve this problem? He knows, he sees these players day in, day out. He knows what it is. I use the word fragile, a word that he's used himself. We've been in these situations when you just can't seem to win. The chances are not going in as you used to. And now you start to panic because you don't have the belief you can win football matches. That is what we're seeing in Manchester City right now. There's a lack of organisation. Defensively, they look so bad. And also, in an attacking sense, we're seeing Haaland get chances where a year ago it would end up in the back of the net. Now he's not scoring. So there becomes that problem throughout the entire team, where it's not just one focal point, it's the entire team, and it's not working, not connecting. And you look at Edison, the goalkeeper. He was dropped recently for Ortega. Edison comes back in and he makes a mistake where some people would say that is a goalkeeper's mistake.
Couple mistakes. He looked shaky.
Should be saving that. So right now, there is no confidence in that team, and that's the hardest thing for managers to get back into players.
Well, Grella, you sounded like you had a bit of confidence in them, because you said if Manchester City lose today, I want to know what the odds are for them to go on and win the Champions League campaign, and you would put money on that. Do you still feel that way?
I think it's a good value. I'm a big value investor, and everything that I do, I would invest in Man City to have a chance to win it. I think their odds will be quite low right now, but they get themselves into the knockout stages, and then who wants to play them? I mean, if Pep starts to realize what's going on, how many goals he's conceding, and tweak a couple things to fix it, Man City is a team that nobody wants to play in the final moments. The same with Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid and Man City kind of fell in similar situations where they've hit some bumps in the road now. But they're teams that find ways to win games later on in the Champions League.
I think what's also going to be pointed out now is this January window coming up is going to be vital. Now, this window is going to be so vital for Manchester City in what they do, how they go about it. Alvarez left, having a fantastic time at Atletico Madrid.
Cole Palmer's
left, leading Chelsea to the promised land. So now they've got money to invest. But again, obviously, there's off-the-field situations with what's going on with the Premier League and how that's going to play out later on down the year. But this January window is going to be vital for them, for who they get in the positions.
I mean, a lot of people like Grella will think they'll turn this around, Mike, but is it getting to a point where it's going too far now for recovery, or is that harsh to say?
I think it's a bit harsh to say, because in the last 2 matches, when you look at who they have next, you get Kovacic back, which is going to be a big get, and he was playing well, serviceable in that Rodri role. If he can get back to form, then there's no problems. But if, say, he gets injured...
It's not just Kovacic, though. It's the defence. The defence looks shambolic.
We start in midfield. That's a player that... Some of the players that are out right now, John Stone's out, Akanji out, Nathan Ake out. Those are massive misses. But I just look at the players they have available right now. He is a big piece, and if he comes back in midfield, Rico Lewis is not that guy. And he's been getting a goal here and there. But defensively, teams look at him and they say, let's go after this kid.
So defensively is the biggest problem for Manchester City. Even Diaz, who's seen as a leader, he hasn't been playing great. Carl Walker, who's been fantastic, now he's getting caught up, and you can see the confidence is not there. When players lose confidence, it is not that easy to get it back. Whichever position you play, you've all been there and had experiences. When you lose your confidence, the football looks like a brick, and it becomes the hardest thing to play with, and you can't trap a ball, you can't do nothing. That for a manager to get back into not just one player, we're talking about the whole team, the back four, midfield, and even Haaland for scoring goals.
How do you motivate them? What do you even say to this group of players?
That's the hardest thing.
You attack and you attack and you press and you attack and you don't respect your opponent and you press it. Look how many goals you've conceded over this stretch. At the end of the day, in football, you have to go back to the basics, and you have to start from we don't concede goals. We win the games 0-0. We make it difficult for the other teams. They make it so easy for the other teams. They're so naive in the way that they play football. To concede 2 goals against Juventus side.
You can't say it's them, though. It's Pep Guardiola's system.
It's Pep.
And
push, impress, and push, impress. Eventually, you have to say, okay, let me protect myself first, and then let's see where we can go from there.
It's just simple football for me. You talk about the spine, the importance of a spine, and he just said it. If you don't have 2 centre-backs and 2 centre midfielders, which is part of your spine, and it's not strong, you'll be broken. And that's exactly what's happening to Manchester City right now. They're being broken and taken apart. And just in comparison, you look at Liverpool, Konate's injured recently, but you've got Van Dijk, Konate, Gravenberch and McAllister. That's a strong spine that keeps the solidness of your team.
It's something that we're not used to talking about, though, the lack of depth for a team like Manchester City.
Yeah, okay, but you know what you have. So
they've got depth. They've just got injuries as well, which has been.
But every team has injuries. I mean, Juventus has a lot of injuries. Actually, they lost their best defender in the beginning of the season. So we can talk about injuries forever for every team. At the end of the day, you have what you have. You're Man City. It's like it's not a team that doesn't spend money. And not only that, if you have what you have to adapt. You have to change. Now, Pep, we've seen him. Everyone names him the best coach in the world, and probably rightfully so. But he's always come into a situation with a big budget, with a big team, with big players, and where everything works already. Now it doesn't work. Let's see, what can you do to change it?
Are you intrigued to see how he does manage these moments?
To me, he has. We keep saying how, and we keep seeing how, and it's not good, and it's bad, and he looks a little perplexed. But at times, you have to grind out results. Maybe you can't play Manchester City style. Maybe you can't press every single moment that you want to press. Maybe you have to be more pragmatic away from home in Torino, like he says himself. I don't know. I think for me, he approaches the games very naive. For one of the best managers in the world, he seems to be very naive in the last 10 games.
Is he going to change, Mike, do you think?
No, he's not going to change. And I think sometimes having success, your ego. This is what I see. Pep's ego getting in the way. A player that I highlighted before, Rico Lewis, you can't keep putting him on an island to defend 1v1. Juventus, they saw that and they said, oh my gosh, we got Rico Lewis? Pass me the ball. I'll come out of retirement right now to play against Rico Lewis. Because right now, any player in the world wants to play against him. And Rico Lewis going forward, he's excellent. But defensively right now, he's being set up to fail. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That is where Pep Guardiola and Man City are at right now.
I'd always say you learn about someone's true capabilities when they face adversity. This is the biggest adversity Pep Guardiola is facing. Now we're going to see how he comes out of it. Right about now, he doesn't seem to have the answers. So that's the thing for me that I'm intrigued to see how this progresses.
I'm intrigued to see Mike Grella's apology to Thiago Motta after you.
Apology? I sent him a psychiatrist over there, Marco Messina. I sent Marco Messina to tell him how good he was doing. Listen, I said before the game, I said this is such an unbelievable platform, opportunity for Juventus, for Thiago Motta, because everyone believes he is the man for the job. And jokes aside, what he said to Marco made me believe a lot in him, because he said we're not good enough, we have to get better. So he sees it just like all the Juventus fans and Italian fans see it. And I think this was an opportunity that he took. This is a project now that you look at and say, wow, Motta is the guy. This is the Juventus squad. All the money they spent is moving in the right direction. So very good day for Italian football.